said talk to me, damn it, or else I'm gonna throw you in the fire!
You stupid bitch, you filthy... Flyover State of Fear. Welcome back to Flyover State of Fear with your hosts Brian and Joe. How are you, Brian?
I am excellent, Joe. How are you, man?
I'm good. I feel like it's been a minute.
It always feels like it's been too long, even though we like DM each other every day like a couple of fucking teenage girls.
I know, but it's nice. It's nice, right?
I like it. I'm not complaining about it.
Like, there's other group chats I'm in where like I check as if they're Facebook.
Yeah, you just like scroll through. Like, do I need to put an obligatory heart by anything here, or
like ours? It's like actually like, do you see this shit, man? So all good. Have you in the horror-ish world? What have you been up to recently? Or?
Oh man, I always get caught off guard by this question. Yeah, I know. Even though we just you saw that I just rewatched the Scream sequel.
You did.
And notoriously, with the last one, I was like high on it in the theater, and then went on a rewatch. It's kind of like, ooh, I think this one sucks.
I haven't done it yet. I haven't done it for that.
I actually think the rewatch was okay. It's fun. I still think it's better than the fifth one. I think you got like 1, 2, and 4, like your peak Scream movies, and then everything else is just it's just a mix, beyond that.
Okay. I haven't done the revisit yet, but I've definitely been itching. Yeah, I've been trying to dip back more into like 70s horror or like old horror recently. So I did Dress to Kill. I just off a Criterion.
Nancy Allen, Queen.
I mean, yeah, problematic movie for today, but even then, but it was great. It was great.
It's like I always like to try to put myself in the position of a movie, like what was it trying to accomplish in its time? Like what was it trying to say in its time?
The most, and someone could disagree with me. The oddest thing with it was there are parts of it where I was like, wow, they're really being like with language and things like that respectful of like trans topics. I mean, then it all gets unraveled at a certain point, but parts of it I was like, wow. And then so I watched that, which I really enjoyed. Like I bought it was a blind Criterion buy during a sale, so I'm like, De Palma, Criterion, sign me up.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I recently watched. It's not really a horror, but the intensity is horrific. Is Sorcerer.
That's one of my favorites. I love Sorcerer. I might have retweeted it in that like what are 4 perfect films? I think I put it in there with like Thief and Alien and The Ritual.
Insane. I don't know.
Really great. I tell you what, I'm a real closet Friedkin guy. Like, obviously, The Exorcist is awesome, and everybody likes French Connection, but like Sorcerer is really incredible. And some of his more recent movies, like in the 2000s, Killer Joe, Bug,
Killer Joe.
Yeah, he did Killer Joe and Bug, and
Bug
what's the one? The Hunted with Benicio del Toro and Tommy Lee Jones.
Mm-hmm.
That's another really great. And those are all like late Friedkin movies. They're all really good.
Bug. Okay, I gotta check out his more bigger
Bug's
filmography.
That's the one. That's Ashley Judd and
Ashley Judd and Michael Shannon.
Yeah.
This movie, weirdly, I'm glad you brought up Bug. So today we're talking about Splinter. I mean, you clicked on the.
I'm sure the thumbnail indicates. Sorry, I don't mean to be looking at my phone. I was trying to find out if I had any other better things I've been watching. But then we're already kind of moved on from that. So I'm just gonna put my phone down. Okay.
Okay. You're good. I don't know, just say Bug weirdly reminded me a little bit of Splinter at some moments. Or Splinter reminded me of Bug a little moments, the smallness.
The bottle movie. I mean, first of all, anytime you're trapped in that tight location.
And the lead actor, or the convict.
Shea Wiggum.
Yeah, I have everything up. Shea Wiggum, Dennis Farrell, the movie. He is in he's the best friend in Take Shelter,
Yep.
which Michael Shannon, Bug,
Mhm.
and I think
Nice.
he's also
Tied it up.
yeah,
Tied it
and
up.
I think he's also in some of the other I want to say he's in some of the other Mike Nichols, like he's one of those guys like Michael Shannon is a bunch of Mike Nichols project. I don't know. Shea Wiggum's in a ton of shit. I'll be mentioning him in a minute.
Well, yeah, we can talk about him now, or we can,
So we're talking about Bug. We'll just go right into this one. I mean, unless you have anything to add in the horror things you've been watching.
No, like I
Just
said, we
really
talked a
like
little. The conversation went naturally. I don't need to look anything else up. We don't need to
so
stop to do that. We can move on to Splinter now.
as always,
Naturally, as ever.
Brian came to me with this one because we were like,
I was
"What
going to
could
say,
you-"
have we ever done a movie on this show? This is kind of all feels very Flyover. That was like something I brought that you had never seen. Have we done anything like that?
No, but everything so far we've seen, and this idea
You've had other people bring movies that you hadn't seen
all the time. I encourage it.
Open-minded.
Yeah, I mean, what's the point of talking about something you've seen if you don't, if you could discover something new?
They both have value, really.
But what have you? Why did you bring this to that? Because we were kind of like in a cross path. So to let the listener know of like, what are we going to choose? Are we going to choose something that like we want to rewatch, or that's kind of spooky, or like? So you said Splinter out of nowhere, and was this just like an irking to watch it?
Well, yeah, this is one of those. So I'm not sure. It came out. This is a 2008 movie. I'm not sure how close to that I saw it, but it had been a long time.
Mm-hmm.
But it's one of those movies that I saw one time, and even though I hadn't rewatched it, and I didn't buy it, and I didn't like it just kind of stuck. There's like there's things in it that stuck with me, and so I saw it, or I just was thinking about it, and I thought to like just search on the Roku and see if, and it was like in 3 or 4 different spots you could watch it for free, and so I picked the one that didn't have commercials, which I think was Hulu.
Oh, I watched it on Tubi.
I mean, don't tell Hulu, but I use your Hulu account, Joe.
I didn't even realize it was on Hulu. So, all right, but go on. I'm glad.
But don't worry, because the makers of Splinter will be happy to know that I purchased the DVD after that, after confirming, getting to see it again and liking it again, and being like, oh, this is a cool little movie that I don't really hear people talk about that much.
Sure.
So I thought I would bring it to Joe and present it to him.
Yeah.
And being the horror guy he is, I knew he would at least give it a chance.
I loved it. I appreciated it and I liked it before we even begin. But thank you for bringing it to us. And while we get into this, I'm going to do what we normally do and read the synopsis. We're actually been like doing better, especially obscure movies have a better write-up. But as always,
using AI now to write their synopses, so I imagine that's why it's so close to reality. It's so close to human thought.
They started the camera. It's 88 minutes. It stars some people, and it happens in a woods. Kind of.
They nailed it.
No,
honestly,
all right,
nailed it.
So when their plans for a nature trip go awry, Polly Watt and boyfriend Seth Blazar decide to check into a motel, and on their way, they're carjacked and kidnapped by low-rent cooks, Dennis Farrell and Lacey.
Does it say cooks or does it say crooks?
Crooks.
I really wanted to say cooks.
Some dyslexia for everyone.
It could be meth cooks. They could have been meth cooks.
They were kind of cooks.
The girl, I have some notes about that.
Who take the victim and their SUV to a nearby gas station. Along the way, they encounter an increasingly terrified horde of parasites, and if any of them intend to survive, they'll have to outsmart the deadly organism.
Pretty solid. I mean,
yeah, it that nailed it. The other thing that from that Google, I never really mentioned the release date, but it was released on Halloween, so it was clearly for the minimal marketing I'm sure it had and theater run. I mean, it didn't even make $1 million.
Probably had some competition, no matter what. A horror movie at Halloween.
2008. That was like peak.
There's plenty of terrible horror movies out in 2008. There's plenty just
that
terrible.
Was Saw one. I'm guarantee you.
Saw era. Is that? Are we into Paranormal Activity? Didn't that Paranormal Activity start in 2007? Isn't that the first one?
Where I think we're in Paranormal Activity. So either way,
it's like I said, it's a fucking wasteland out there.
It's I mean, it's very like with the low rent. I mean, the director is by someone named Toby Wilkins. He, from his IMDb, looked to be more of an editor slash TV director.
Yeah, well, he
And
looks like a special effects guy,
yeah,
which
and then
makes
goes.
sense. When you look at this, he also directed The Grudge
I was
3.
gonna say he goes through The Grudge 3, and that's really of note. What we'll stick with. But
That's
good
kind of his
job.
big movie after that he gets after off the back of this. Like you get the impression this was like his test run, and they were like, "Okay, you can direct. We'll let you do something else."
But good job. And
Well, and like
it's
the
really
special effects side, and we can talk about it a little bit later, but like he definitely came to the project with the idea for the
it's like
creature
it's like the
already kind of in his head, and he like the story that they had, the script that they had didn't really. I mean, I think it had a creature in it, but he was like, "What if we did this?" And
expanded on it
he brought the like Splinter creature
mm-hmm.
to this movie.
Because it would have just been like a zombie movie
Yeah,
without.
or like a monster in the woods or something.
Because this
Yeah.
really, I mean, I have so many notes, but at the end of the day, it really is just like the first chapter in a Resident Evil game. Like you
Yeah,
have to get
kind of.
you have to get supplies in a gas station. Oh, yeah, kind of got to shoot your way out. And that's not a knock on it, but that's very much the
Well, my
basis.
note is that it has a similar premise to a season 1 X-Files episode called Darkness Falls, where some loggers cut a tree down. And I don't know if you noticed, there's a note of that in this where they talk about there's ancient trees getting cut
400
down in this area.
years.
And I don't know if it was just that they were at a campsite that this was like part of it, or if this was supposed to be a symbol. But they pan by a tree that's been cut, and there's like a weird symbol burned into like the stump. I just
No, I
noticed it
didn't
this
know. I
last
didn't
time,
notice
and I
that.
didn't know that could have been like a symbol for like a campsite or something
Mm.
too. It might have or it might have been supposed to be something. But anyway, in this X-Files episode, loggers cut down a tree and
Mm.
unleash this like swarm of little glowing bugs that like cocoon you up and suck you dry.
I kind of remember that episode.
It's a classic.
I did X Files on a college binge in the early days of Netflix binging.
Oh, sure.
So
I mean,
a lot
it
of
should.
that retention isn't.
No, you don't. When you binge that, they really run. I mean, X Files runs together anyway. So let alone if you just like one after the
Um,
other, like shotgun them like that.
mhm. But no, the movie does start with a bang. In the regards of we open up and we get Skinny Pete
My
from
son
Breaking Bad.
immediately ID'd Skinny Pete.
Which I always loved. I will never forget that actor complaining about being Skinny Pete after the success of Skinny
Oh,
Pete,
I bet.
just because he's like, I'm not like that. Like he's like a Juilliard trained actor,
Oh yeah,
apparently.
actually, I have a note here because it was in the special features. He's also he has extensive mime training, and he brought that to this role because of the body movements and
That makes
stuff.
sense.
You
That makes
know,
sense.
when the creature overtakes them in the weird ways that he like informed that to his performance,
That's
which I was like,
cool.
it's so funny that he has like they described as extensive mime training. Just cracked me up to no end. He was miming the
For the listeners at home, I'm doing a miming.
that's my
Just
mime to crack pipe.
so miming that.
Ooh, hey now.
So I don't know. We see him get fucked up by like sort of this rodent-ish creature. We don't know what it is yet. And the great thing about this, if they did know, is we never get to see the Splinter creature really. What happens? It's all that cut cam, and this is with the way they do the blood and everything, and some shots. I mean, it's clearly Evil Dead influenced.
Well, I would also say, and I feel this because that's how it's deliberate. Because most of the movie is directed just like very competently,
Mm-hmm.
straightforward. And then for the action, when it's like really when the monster kicks off and there's like a lot of frenetic action, it does get a little shaky and it's a little bit harder to follow, but it's on purpose to assist with the effects.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the budget and they
Yeah,
don't
no,
want to give you
it's
too
doing
close a look at what they're doing, and
the right thing. Especially this is all practical.
absolutely. Up
Uh,
until the very end, I think there is a digital shot right at the
I'm
very
sure it's
end,
a little digital.
a little bit, but not
That's
much.
fine. But yeah, we start and then we cut to our two couple, which is the guy from Road Trip and I think Royal
I had not
Pains.
watched Road Trip in like a decade, and then I watched it like 2 days before I rewatched Splinter, and
Really?
did not remember that he was the guy in both of them, and was just like, and
Yeah,
I shit you not, that's probably the only thing I've ever even seen this
he's
guy
the
in, were
guy.
those 2 movies.
He's the guy who. He's the guy who likes. I think like, and it's 2001, so it's even more taboo. This guy who figures out he likes getting pegged, basically.
Yeah, well, and
Um, that's
he's
like the
like the
joke.
weed guy also. He doubles. He's
Yeah,
like the stoned smart guy. That was their
yeah.
take on the stoner guy, was that he was kind of like an intellectual
He was
though.
intellectual, and then I think he plays a really, because I never watched it, but he plays a really, really cool doctor in like Royal Pains. Because I remember I had a
Oh, okay.
cousin who was like, "That guy's the man." I'm like, "You
Oh,
mean
it's
the
one of those things.
fucking?"
I'm sure he went on to do a lot of
Oh,
shit, but it's like I only ever saw him in these 2 things. It's
me
just
too.
wild that I revisited them both like right at the same
Me,
time.
me, me too. Because I remember going, the fucking dorky guy from, like the man. Like, anyway,
Yeah.
so these are only 2 things I think I've ever seen that actor in. I looked up on both the actresses that were in this. They're, I think, both just on some TV shows here or there that
Yeah,
stood
the
out.
girl who plays Polly, I saw some Hallmark movies
Hmm.
on her roster and stuff. So that's a totally fine way to
And
take.
oh yeah, this is no knock, just breaking down. And then as we mentioned earlier, uh, Shea Wiggum, definitely what I would say the most accomplished here. I recognize a lot of things. I mean, he's in the Fast and the Furious movies, a few here and there. He plays an FBI agent coming out. And most recently, been rewatching a lot of Danny McBride stuff, and he's like the husband of his exes. That's super nice, and he plays it perfectly. And Brian's frozen, so I don't even know what I'm saying right now.
Sorry, I was just checking my internet.
You good? Do we?
No, I mean, if I'm
All right.
back, I'm back, I
You're
guess.
back. All right. All I
It
said
says
was
connected, secured.
you're good. All I mentioned, to just recap to you, is what Wiggum is in, and it just literally watched him in Vice Principals. As
Well,
like
that's the thing. I kept seeing. I knew him from Kong Skull Island, and I guess apparently he's in the Fast movies. He plays
he's in it.
Stasiak.
He's one of the I think he's in Fast 2 or Too Fast Too Furious or like 4. He's basically just one of the cops that Paul Walker like knows
Oh,
from
okay, all
back of
right,
his
all
day
right.
being a cop. So he's popped up in some of
He
the later
pops up.
things.
I get you because I saw somebody. He's like 6, 9.
Yeah, he
He just comes
pops
in and
in and
out.
out later things like uh
He
so
was on Agent Carter. I remember he was
yeah,
on that Marvel show.
he's
That
on
was back when I was trying to watch Marvel shows. And then I had to. I know I already mentioned Kong, but he has the greatest. He has one of my all-time favorite deaths in Kong Skull Island. He tries to have the like sacrificial death,
yeah.
and then that monster like tail swats him into the side of a mountain, and he blows up. So
He's
funny.
he's fucking hysterical in not hysterical in Vice Principals. He plays
Yeah.
the
Well, that's
overly
what I was
friend.
saying. No, no, go ahead. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to
Oh,
interrupt
just
you.
saying he plays the over friendly stepdad
Yeah.
that just like wants to get along with Danny McBride.
But he plays it in that Shea Wiggum way where he's
Yeah,
got that real flat affect and kind of like
yeah,
southern tough
and it
guy
works.
like but that was the thing, like I knew him from Kong and some other bit parts, but I was like there's something I've watched where he's like a character, like a pretty main, and that was what it was when I saw like
Hmm.
I finally got down on his IMDb to Vice Principals. I was like that's it, he's he's the new dad, like basically the wife's
Yeah.
new husband or whatever.
Anyway, so that's the cast. It's very pleasant, and so we do get this couple, and they're like, "Cred." So it's weird. I had to rewind this just to make sure I didn't miss something in the first 5 minutes. So the couple goes and stops the camp, and the woman's more like outdoorsy, and the husband's more or the boyfriend's more like
Well, he's a
he's a
biology
he's a
PhD,
biology
like
major.
he's about to get his doctorate or
He's
something.
not ready to do camping, basically. So there's a whole thing. Oh, that with the tent, we don't have the things for the tent. We'll go check in a hotel and whatnot. That's where they're driving to. The car they're driving is so fucking dirty and in the mud that I rewound it to be like, did I miss that they
Is there a scene where they got stuck in the mud
like
somewhere?
watch it. It is.
No,
It's
no,
not
I
just
do know exactly
muddy
what you're talking about. It's like
tires.
sprayed up like there were mud running up the
Yeah,
sides. Yeah, I know. I saw it too. I didn't. Yeah.
yeah.
Maybe there was. Maybe.
Maybe just deleted scenes. Uh we had to cut the mud running part of our 82-minute movie.
Right. We had to get it under 90, so the mud running scene had to go.
But anyway, I mean, the movie moves quick. There's not much time. So then we're also in that beginning juxtapositioning to this other couple who clearly is just the polar opposite of them. They're gruff. They're bickering. They're two drug addicts. One's drugged out.
Yeah, he's escaped from prison, right?
Escaped from prison, and she's
a drug addict.
And she's a drug addict.
And this is what I wanted to say when we were talking about it earlier. Drug addicts make for such great horror movie characters. Like, they're twitchy and sweaty, and no one believes them when they say shit. So, like, when crazy stuff happens, then a drug addict is like, "Oh my god!" Everybody's like, "What are you talking about?" They use it really good in the 2013 Evil Dead. You know, she's supposed to be. They take her out there supposedly to dry out. So, like, of course she's flipping out. So that just plays into what's going on. Like,
and they do a good job with her, like, getting her paler in the small amount of time we're with these characters. She goes like the more and more her withdrawal. Yeah, and this one. You know, all around she starts saying shit and like going like, what is this? So they drive and they kind of slow down for this hitchhiker. It's her.
Yeah, well, of course they do the old trick where the girl stands out there and she looks like she's alone, so you pull over to help her, and then her boyfriend comes out and getting his like 3 dude friends and get in your car.
and yeah, basically they kind of stop, they don't. And then they pull a gun out and they get out. And instead of leaving them, they take them with them to drive.
Yeah, I don't know what the hostage situation is about. Why would not just take their car and just leave them on the side of the road? You don't have to kill them, just leave them.
Even our drug addict, which I'm going to get named, so I'm not just calling someone a drug addict.
It is kind of derogatory. She has a problem. She's sick.
Lacey, even Lacey, is like, I thought we weren't going to do this, you know, and he's like, it's fine. And then immediately it was like, one of my first notes is, why isn't he just driving? They have the wife, and I do
he has to keep the gun on her. He can't drive and keep the gun on him because they brought him with him for some reason. These problems would not exist if they didn't bring him with them.
I would say for like a good 20 minutes or like 15 minutes, I thought there's probably less than that. We were gonna have a Pulp Fiction situation of like an accidental, like, oh fuck, you shot Jimmy or
because she is holding the gun like pointing
shot
right
Marvin
in the
face.
Yeah, I was worried about that too.
But I actually wrote the note down because I knew the runtime. We get to the gas station at 22 minutes. Like, it's not.
Oh yeah, well that's the thing. It's like these little issues exist because they were just trying to get these characters to the gas station. So like. They glossed over why they take them hostage, or that they're like stuff like that. You're not supposed to think about, and you don't think about it when you're watching the movie. You know, we're not. No. It's not like a thing where you're like, the logic of this doesn't work out.
Not at all. And so they're driving. It's now night, and they run over what appears to be some sort of porcupine type thing in the middle of the road. I mean, cars.
And the what's her name? Lacey thinks it's the cat she lost earlier that. They ran off.
She's losing it.
Yeah, supposedly she's having withdrawal, so they think she's losing it, and she thinks she tries to make what's his name, Seth, bring it back to life by poking it with a stick or something. It doesn't go.
Yes, yeah, and that's when it like wiles up, and she runs in the car, and then she almost leaves Seth, even though the thing's not chasing any of them, but she's going through.
No, withdrawal. Seth almost leaves her. There's a minute there where they run back. The girl shoots at the thing and then runs back to the car. And like the convict and Lacey and Polly is the girlfriend's name, Seth's girlfriend, are all up by the car. And he has that moment of like, shit, I could just go. I could just bail out on this. And he doesn't. He doesn't though.
Dennis is Wiggum. I wrote Ray because I was using his name from Vice Principals. But Dennis is the one who doesn't. And Dennis early sniffs out that Polly, the main girl, or white tank top, is like above it all. Like, I don't know, he instantly is like, she's like,
well, he can sense that she's capable. I did not want to note this for a 2008 movie. I thought this was worth noting. Shea Wiggum is a like gruff, just out of prison, tough guy. he notes Seth is useless,
Yes,
but I
that's
know
what.
but notice that he never calls him a pussy or
No,
uses the F slur at him
you're
or
right. He
anything
could have
or
been
and he
like,
isn't even overtly misogynist. He's not like, "Oh, you're a woman doing everything for you." He's just like, "You guys can't do shit. You're just useless." Like
yeah, that's
he's
a
not
good note
it was
because
interesting to me. I just kept expecting some more like overt misogyny from him.
it would be
Even
there.
later when he pistol whips, he like butt strikes the girl in the head, but I noted that he didn't call her a bitch. I was
Yeah,
like, I was like surprised that he hit her, but he didn't call her bitch. I was
there's
like,
some,
hmm.
there was some political restraint
I
there
was like, oh, the
because
writer
he,
here didn't hate women that much.
I don't, it was equal. I think we had an equal ratio of death too. He,
Yeah.
you're absolutely right though, because I even was like, and I know this is sex. I was like, okay, she's changing the tire because he knows the guy's useless to change a tire.
Mhm.
So checks on him, and you already said it. We established that the nerd is a biology major, not a doctor.
Right.
Because
Because immediately she's like, ooh, pill. Can you give me pills? Can you
yeah, she's
write me
like,
a
you write a
script?
script,
Not that kind of doctor.
and they're like, well,
I'm the
she,
useless
I do
kind of
like her. I
doctor.
like her like a you're not a fucking doctor.
Right. I'm the
Um,
useless kind.
so we do get to the gas station, and like almost immediately we uncover Skinny Pete zombified and goes after our convict lady.
There's a moment here that I thought was interesting. This is like the first we see him. He's got the like splinters come out of his face.
Yeah.
The practical effects in this movie look great. Like I said, they do a good job of showing you enough to give it to be like, oh, it's fucked up, but not making it so that it's like it takes you out of it because you can look because you see too much.
Hmm.
Um, but this is like he bursts out and he anyway, this is I just thought I just totally lost my train of thought. Sorry.
No, it's okay. I know
I don't know what the hell. As soon as you start talking, I'm going to remember what I was going to say, and then it's
you
going to be
are, and
so
you're gonna
fucking
talk over me.
stupid.
He but like no, his reveal shows you like the monster afoot, and we forgot to mention that picking up the tire, uh,
Uh,
Dennis Paul
Shea Wiggum
Shea Wiggum
gets a
gets one splinter in his
the little one.
finger. Classic zombie trope. So he's bitten,
Right,
and
exactly. Classic like setup. We all know where this is headed
so
already.
likely that it's gonna, it's gonna take a while.
Now, Joe, I remembered what I was going to say. If you would allow me to go
Oh,
back to my thought, um, when she opens the door, Skinny Pete has got all the crazy prosthetics and everything. He looks great, but he also says, "Kill me." He's still alive.
yeah.
So like that makes you think that. Now, I don't think that later, because of all the trauma that those
Mhm.
bodies that end up becoming the monster end up taking, that anything is alive in there. But theoretically, you could stay alive while the thing took you over and controlled you, and like all the way up till if you would stay
Depends when it
conscious
gets
through
to
a
your
lot of
brain.
that.
Yeah.
Right? Exactly. So like speaking of the splinter in the finger, that situation where it's really slowly creeping, you could be in some bad trouble. And
Oh,
well, I
they
mean,
could
we'll
have.
get to it.
I mean, there's probably a version of the script where they escape and they
But
get
you don't think of a zombie who like
they get 20
knows
miles.
they're a zombie but can't help themselves and like their body's
Yeah,
taken over. Like
yeah. That's I mean, yeah, warm bodies, but that's a
yeah,
romantic
okay,
comedic
okay,
thing,
yeah,
and
fair, fair.
they have inner monologues, and they're like, I kind of remember doing things, and but you're right. It's a that the kill me is a it's not quite a zombie. It's a splinter thing. It's more of the symbiote. It's more
Yeah, it's like an
Venom's.
infection. Yeah, and it looks like the symbiote,
Yeah.
especially
Uh,
when they do the little thing where the little three fingers are walking around.
that was my letterbox review of so many hand monsters. Uh, so they're three of them are inside and the one woman's out. They kind of lock the door to Dennis's chagrin because his girlfriend just basically is being just got bludgeoned kind of ish, and
Yeah, it's hard to see exactly what happens to her. She gets like slashed and possibly bludgeoned all like
yeah.
slashed, then her head hits the concrete
And then
maybe.
the fairly we oh movie this watching her, and it's like I see her move. She's alive. I'm gonna go check on her. And
Yeah, you can see her moving. He's gonna go wants to go check her
the
out.
other two are kind of like, fuck that, something's up.
Yeah, well, and also the creature is still laying on the hood of the car, all like crazy and spiky,
Yeah.
and it just
So, yeah, they kind of do that, and then what I thought was really neat is the guy with the gun or Dennis doesn't go, okay, you're gonna go out there and check it out to like any of the couple.
Yeah, he doesn't
They
like put a gun to Seth's head and force
Yeah,
Seth out the door.
a lazy movie would have done that.
Yeah.
They do that. He kind of goes to check it out, and then she comes back, and then she starts.
Well, and instead they flip it and they use this as an opportunity to set up a little bit of more kind of the dynamic between Polly and Seth, where he's like, just let him back in. It's we're playing along. We don't want to
Mhm.
escalate things. And she's like, no, he's outside and we're in. Fucking lock the door. He can stay out there with that thing.
Mhm.
So they are actually like arguing about it a little bit, and
She was a great final girl.
yeah, absolutely. She's really good. They're
Um,
all actually great in this.
it's a
I
stage. I
really
mean, whenever I see something with like 5 characters or less, it's like, especially setting like this, like it's a horror stage play.
yeah,
At the end of the day, like, um, and yeah, so they do that. I mean, and he gets back in, and she's brutally smashing her head on the fucking ground. And this is actually like,
her face is really smashed up. It's
yeah,
messed up. It's not good.
it's fucked.
Yeah, she just keeps banging her face on the glass. Kind of surprised that glass didn't break, actually.
Yeah, how easy things broke, but also the creature or this virus like more denigrates your body, so it's able to like
She was
break
probably
and twist. And
softer. She was probably softer. That's why she got so
it's one of the
smashed.
and this is when her hand gets cut or her hand gets cut off, and it's in there, and they see it move around, and that's when the nerd notices how
Nerd.
I know that's just notice the bio is how it's reacting to things, and he's like, it's a bio, it says like he's like a bioorganism, blah blah blah. This, um, and I do like the one part where like you said, Polly, the establishment, he starts rattling off statistics of being rescued, and she's like,
Yeah,
"Shut! We're going practicality. Shut up with your statistics."
yeah. Like, yeah,
Uh,
but that's not right here. We're right here. This is like,
some tension draws, and the cops finally do come. And there's this woman cop, and this is when we fully get. This is fully when we get the realization that they are criminals, like this big criminal on the run. 'Cause she's like, we've been
yeah.
looking for you everywhere, and she has her gun drawn to the glass, and fucking the
Right, they're
creatures are
trying
out
to
there.
tell her to get to her car. Even the dude, the Dennis,
Oh,
the
he does.
criminal, is like, "Go to your car, call this in, tell them it's a hostage situation, get everybody out here." You know what I mean? Like, get this shit
I
figured out.
I liked Dennis as a one of our basically at the end of the day one of our good guys because he wasn't the criminal that's in part of the group to go.
We
Hey,
can talk a little bit about how they try to redeem
yeah,
Dennis, and
it's
if
stupid.
that lands or
I
not,
think
I don't think that it
I think he could have just
does.
been a bad dude who.
Right. When it comes down to it, what he's really sorry about is that he didn't kill that dude with that one shot, and the guy like suffered and like bankrupted his family because he stayed alive long enough to like, and he still died. Like, so like at the end of the day, what he seems to be sad about is that he didn't kill him fast
Yeah,
enough.
he's
And yeah,
he
it's nice that he
it's
wants to whatever. He's gonna like help
I
her
just
out now that he's out of jail or whatever. But
in the eyes of the movie, I wasn't even thinking of that. In the eyes of the movie, I like in the situation he's in, he's not trying to be like, oh no, this is dumb. Being like, yeah, call everyone to come help with this fucking thing.
yeah. No, but I just mean in
Oh,
general.
in
Like, I
general, the
think
movie.
I think he is played very much as the like criminal with a heart of gold, the guy who's like does bad things, but is secretly like when it comes down to it, if it's in a life and death situation, is gonna help out and like the will like the greater good or whatever. You know what I
The
mean?
movie,
And I think the movie's fine about setting up that character. I just think the justification they give you, the way they kind of try to like, doesn't really land for me.
the movie wants its cake and eat it too with him. Um, but so I mean, obviously, the cop and it's crazy too because the cop gets like picked up and pulled up, which like almost out of frame. You just see everything as if now these
She
creatures
gets
are
like
like
pulled up to just where her legs, just far enough that her legs can get ripped off and her
Mhm.
bottom. The mist also had come out, so like we're big on like just legs full of guts falling onto concrete. We love it
but
this year.
it's so like it's such an odd area of this creature because right now
I
everything's
do
been on
love
the
right
floor.
when they're trying to get her to get in. They do a shot where you see it jump from the roof of the thing to like the top of the where the
Mhm.
gas pumps are, the thing that's over the gas pumps. You see it like jump. It's like a shot from the perspective of like the cop with her gun, but you're shooting up
You
and you
see it.
see it jump over her head. I just think that was a fun shot.
Yeah. My biggest mistake with this so far, and I was going to say this for the end, and it's not the movie, it's me, is not watching it in the evening. Like,
Oh
just
yeah.
like the tension's just right for like a nighttime watch that's not going to fuck you up.
Yeah.
And I regret that because I watched it like, when I could. But
We all got lives to live,
so that happens, and it does lead to my favorite, like, I guess, set piece ish
Okay.
is the arm coming through the talk window and
Yeah.
skin just ripping off of the arm going through it like that.
Yeah. And then like trying to smash it with the bat and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we get another hand attack.
Another hand piece gets out, a bigger one this time,
Yeah.
so it has
Full
enough.
hand.
Because the thing about the little one that was just 3 fingers is basically the splinter thing. It keeps you alive. Well, it uses your body for mobility while it eats you up, but eventually it will finish you, and then it's done. Then and it waits for
So,
something else to come around.
with that hand that's in there now crawling around the big hand, they crawl through basically they go through the freezers. Like they
Well,
go through this
hold on, you're
drink.
missing a beat here because the infection has spread in Dennis's hand,
Oh, you're right. And
and
he's shown.
we get our first really brutal body horror thing that happens to like I don't know, like I guess there's been a lot of gross like nasty stuff, but I think this is like the first real body horror. And this is one of the things that I really remembered about this movie that like stuck with me,
Mhm.
which is the way his finger tries to like get away from him. It
Yeah.
looks like it breaks in like 5 different ways. It like snaps back and around, and it's like it's trying to escape his body. And same thing
Mhm.
later. I mean, we're heading
There's
that
a
way.
few beats we'll get to it, but you're right, that does happen. The infection, he does the
He's
just
over
cut
looking
it.
for something to help them out with the arm in the
Yeah,
that's coming through the window, and it does it, and he like wraps it up and keeps it hidden from
and
them because he's kind of yeah.
you've seen this before me. What? And then they'd had to plan this a little bit around this with the gas, with all the propane, the gas
Yeah, the
cylinder.
idea was after they, because the whole thing, the reason that the arm
Start a
comes in the
fire.
wind, the reason the arm comes in the window is because they're trying to fish the radio. So when that
Yeah,
fails, they decide the next thing is to try to start a big fire, and then hopefully the fire department will just show up
yeah.
because there's a
Okay,
big fire going. The idea was like to get enough lighter fluid that it like flows out to
and they
like the
get it,
more wooded part, and something would catch and really make a
and they
big
get it, like burn the whole forest down.
right. But really, what was always going to happen is what does happen, which is they would have burned themselves down with
Yeah,
while they were locked in the fucking thing with that monster.
the gas station
Yeah,
they're on explodes,
right.
as does Seth rightly call out in due time and is looking at them
Yeah.
like, you fucking idiots.
Yeah.
So
Like,
that
what
goes
are
on.
you doing there? That's the thing about like it's funny because you get the impression that Seth kind of keeps Polly a little grounded, and then then Dennis, even though he's their captor, he like feeds into her. Those two
Yeah,
like they feed off each other's bad kind of crazy
they're
ideas. They're like, yeah, they both want to be so proactive that they're just like a bad idea is better than no idea. Let's
they're
give this
two
a shot.
people.
Like,
They're two people would have a really toxic relationship together, but would have like really, really good sex.
it'd be wild. Yeah,
And
absolutely, mind
and
blowing.
and
Seth very workmanlike.
Seth and Polly's out like, yeah, no, let's like do like 5 tequila shots tonight, and
Seth's like, how about 3?
Seth's more like one, and we'll have a margarita, and then we're good.
Yeah. Then we'll see how we feel. We'll see how we
Yeah,
feel.
Yeah, so I like that there is a yin and a yang. I mean, because it
Yeah,
really
yeah.
we do
The
get
dynamic. That's a cool thing about. I think a movie with a small cast. It's really, good. Well, I mean, it's necessary. The dynamics have to kind of constantly be shifting. There has to be a reason for when you only have 5 or 6 characters in your whole movie, every character needs to have a reason to be there. You know what I mean? So like having them kind of interact with each other always in ever different, ever changing ways and seeing like different sides of those relationships, it makes for a much better
it's a good
movie.
movie. This is a prime example of so much is not to keep harping on this runtime. You know, you could do so much if you keep everything to a minimum and have a good, have a solid
Oh,
runtime. You
absolutely,
don't need.
absolutely. There's such a like people don't understand. There's such a sweet shorthand to filmmaking and to television. That's why I have a hard time with some of these hour-long dramas because everything is just like, what is the purpose that you're showing me this? You know what I
Not
mean? Like,
even.
I like movies because what they show you what you need to know to
Hey,
propel the plot.
me
You know?
me too. And by the way, not even hour-long dramas, because that fucking Ted Lasso show right now, I know it ended today, they're all like an hour long in the 3rd season, and it's way too long for
Yeah,
that
for a
format.
comedy. Yeah,
Um,
that's not right.
but you're right, and that's what I say all the time about why I like movies too, is at least they're gonna tell me a story
Yeah.
in the time frame they're giving me, even if
Exactly, and when it's over, I'll know whether I liked it or not, and I won't have to wait to see if it's gonna get good later or if it's gonna get bad, or you know what I mean. I've
worst
seen my
worst
story.
thing anyone could ever tell me when they're trying to pitch me a TV show is, yeah, but by season 3, that's when it really picks up.
No, no.
Season
If
1 and 2 are
it's got to. I'll give it about 3 episodes. That's what you get out of me, and
what I
that's a
do
half-hour show.
for certain shows. What I'll tell people, especially like procedurals that I like, I'll
Yeah,
go, yeah, just skip to season 2 and you'll be fine because
yeah.
like whatever.
Well,
Um,
TJ once talked about wanting to watch Seinfeld, and I told him that. I was like, jump to season 4. Season 4 is when it really is great.
and then
And
when you
then, like,
like
if
it, go
you like
back.
that and you start getting into the classic Seinfeld, then go back and watch 1, 2, and 3, and you'll probably like them. But don't start with the Seinfeld Chronicles in season 1, because you're not going to make
No,
it.
no, no.
You're not going to get to the good shit.
Easy. So anyway, um, uh, they do after their hand attack though, and all of that information. They
They sneak into the freezer,
they
right? They
go into the
climb into the
freezer.
freezer.
Dennis saves them. Sneak into the freezer, and now Dennis' hands real bad, but they're like hanging on the freezer for a while,
Though
just
they've
like
realized, Dennis tells him he realized by being in the freezer, it's the heat. That's what they track with, heat. They're always
heat.
looking for and 90 humans are basically the warmest. Well, animals are basically the warmest thing around all the time. So it's always trying to get to the
Because
next.
then Seth's like, oh yeah, right? Seth's the boyfriend. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, nerd guy.
Seth was like, oh yeah, they were attacking the car because the engine was overheated, not me. And
It basically killed Lacey by just like knocking her out of the way, trying to get to the
yeah,
hood of the car. Like,
because while they're in the freezer, they're like, why is it not attacking anymore? It saw us go in here, and it's like because the thing was this Dennis to be like, it got bored of you. It's good now. It's good because it's trying to find heat, not in the
yeah,
freezer.
it gives up on you. It can't see you anymore because you're cool now, and it
So
bails.
while they're in the freezer, though, Dennis's arm is like, just it's done. He knows it's done, and I
Ooh
like.
man, they get some really brutal bone breaks in this
Yeah,
one. In
this
this
this was
part.
definitely without consulting anyone, which is my favorite part of this. Though he takes the box cutter and attempts to go for it. He tries 127
He does
hours his
not.
arm.
Oh, I mean, they fully 127 hours into
Oh,
this,
eventually, but they
but
have
like
to
he
do it.
goes to do it himself and he like passes out,
Yeah.
and he never even penetrates his own skin, and they just take it upon themselves. They're like, well, he would have wanted this so much to the point, and I wrote this down. I love this. He like starts to make the noise, and she goes, "Don't worry, we're cutting your arm off." That line of dialogue was so funny. Don't
Because it's all
worry,
delivered. It's all delivered with such straight faces.
don't worry, we're
And
cutting your arm off, and he's just like, okay.
they're like, all right. And they go through and he's like, it's not working to the right of the bone. You can't get to the bone. So he sees 2 cinder blocks
They gotta
and they
snap.
just snap it off with the fucking cinder block smush. And honestly, it looked great and it made me squeal. Like it
Yeah,
was a stomach
it's
flip.
real misery level shit. Like
It was
it's
a stomach
gruesome.
flip. And then I love it because if you have a little fade to black, and like now he's like, Dennis is back and like more lively. Or
They tie it up. I mean, he's got he's got horror movie blood loss where he's just got like some white pancake on his
yeah,
face, you know?
but he's enough there. But I also love that they're drinking Coronas. Because my one note was like, I'd be having something a
Family.
lot. I'd have my family. I'd be having something a lot stronger than a Corona if you just cut off my own arm, and I'd be like,
Where's the goddamn whiskey? They don't keep that in the freezer. That's the problem. They don't keep that in the cooler.
Yeah, but there has to be like a 9%. Like, give me like a Bud Ice at that point. Like something that's like
First, get in your time machine and go back to where they sell Bud Ice.
it's 2007.
It's strong. You know what? Point made.
Or Keystone Ice, which is the same thing.
Steel Reserve.
Yeah, like but like that was their moment. Like, all right, beforehand, like we're gonna do things, and then actually, I like this. This movie is probably one of the craziest schemes I've ever seen in a zombie
The
movie.
scheme is fun. It's a real like it reminded me of the Frighteners,
Yeah,
when they do the same thing in the Frighteners.
yeah. He goes, okay, I'm gonna be like a ghost to them because they're not gonna be able to sense my body temperature if we get it down to
I
92.3.
just have to get under. It's 93 degrees outside. I have to get my body underneath the ambient temperature.
So
But it's a sweet spot because if I go below 89 degrees, I'll cause permanent damage to myself.
yeah, I'll essentially die and pay. So
Yeah.
dude from Road Trip is they miraculously get a thermometer that they can
Yeah,
put in his
I
mouth.
mean, they got a.
It's a fridge. It's somewhere, but they're just laying ice on him, and his temperature drops, and
His whole body temperature drops. He doesn't melt that ice with his body or anything.
no, it drops, and he's just they're quipping and all of this, and he goes out, and then he does the walk, the slowest,
But
jitteriest walk.
he's so cold he can't walk right. So
Yeah, which is fair
and he's
because
carrying a bag. I love that he's hugged up on a bag of ice. He's all like,
because this is I literally my one note was, dude, just drop the bag of ice and run to the car.
yeah, just hustle, man. Like, yeah, your temperature's gonna go up if you run. I think he was trying to keep himself cool because he thought if he ran, his temperature would come up quicker. But like, but
He just
also,
calls a noise too,
yeah, yeah.
and that one didn't. I think it seemed a little comedic with the ice, but it made me chuckle because it was like such a scheme,
Yeah,
and
it did. It felt like a real plan.
and uh and it kind of worked. I don't know. It
Okay,
really made me
he
laugh.
gets
It
in the car, and then you, me, and everyone who has ever watched this movie
doesn't start.
screams at him to shut the fucking car door. What are you doing sitting there with the
And
car door
start it.
open?
And start it. Shut the door and start it.
Have you ever seen the movie Feast?
No.
It was produced by Project Greenlight. It came out around this
Oh
time,
wow.
I think.
What a fucking throwback.
And it's a horror movie and it's fun. I did a bunker on it back in the day, but it's got one of my favorite. I'll spoil it now because nobody's ever gonna watch that movie. Nobody's ever seen it, but it's got one of my favorite moments where they do this kind of same thing where they have a big plan and this girl is gonna like get out to the car past the monsters. She's get to the truck and then she's gonna drive it up and like they're all gonna jump in and the plan goes totally perfectly. They like roll her out in a beer barrel or something, and she manages to sneak out. And she gets in the truck, and then she just goes and leaves everybody behind, and just like bails, just drives off. And I thought it would have been so funny if Seth would have done that.
It just ends.
Seth just gets in the car and fucking hits the fucking road.
I'm out of here. Peace.
He turns on the heat, because he's all cold from his plan.
Oh.
He's like, ooh, gotta warm up. The cop's got like a cup of coffee there. He's like, ooh.
Ooh, you look chilly, sir.
Yeah.
Well, that's one of those ones where
You
like
just cut to Seth at at a police station with like a silver blanket around him, and they're like bringing the corpses of his girlfriend and that guy past.
she was a real looker.
I'm gonna miss her. Anyway, she's like he's already hitting on like a hot cop. He's like anyway.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, your body, you know when you have a fever or your body change. I know mine changes temperature ever so slightly and you're just off and you feel it. Oh, just imagine what Seth was like being like 5 degrees,
Yeah.
more than 5 degrees under what your body temperature should be.
Oh no, I'm sure. Like I said, you'd feel like you were gonna die. Like I've
And
been cold before. I was out.
so he,
There was a time I was out on a backpacking trip, and I ended up with a fever. So I was like cold in a place where you couldn't get warm. There was no heat to be had. I was like literally trying to sit in a fire.
but your body was also warm.
But I was like, but yeah, my actual body was probably very warm.
But so he does that, and it kind of works. I mean, now everything's just around, and the fucking place is burning down now. It doesn't even matter. Like,
Yeah,
a
he
fire
comes
starts.
like the creature. They do get the creature to kind of like come back to the back door with their fireworks
Mhm.
but then it breaks in and it's in there with them. Seth brings in the shotgun from the cop car. One-arm shotgunning, not so
He's
cool with a pump action. Sorry, buddy, you're not
he's
Arnold, man.
he's firing her off too. Like
He's
he is
like
Arnold.
firing and then he has to like throw it up and
Shoots.
catch it and then cock it and
He
then throw it
shoots.
and catch it and
He
like
has like 3 shots, kind of. Like he
at the
shoots
very
one thing,
minimum spin it around and tuck it under your arm
and
or
then
something.
he shoots the hand, and he's like, "Come with me." Basically, he's like, "Come with me if you want to
If you
live."
don't want to live.
And then she runs away, and then fucking Dennis like hobbles, kind of falls down,
More
has
like
a
Shea
tussle.
Wingham, if you know,
Yeah.
right?
Shea Wingham over here falls down, kills the mom, does the sacrifice, but not a true sacrifice just yet because he shoots the pump, blows up, blowing him back and setting the creature on fire.
Yeah.
Just enough time for Polly to be like, you know what, he is a good guy. Let me run over there and you know, give him a try to give him a hand and save his life. So Seth's like, God damn it, and runs back with him. And then
Yeah.
that's when you said like he has his redemption where he's like he's wearing around his neck first. He's like, the key.
Yeah, he
Go to
gives her like the key. It's like a key to a post office box or something where he's got the money hidden from
yeah,
his crimes.
and the post office box because I was like, he just says go to the bank, give it to so and so. I was like,
I think maybe the address that's on the thing you see is
that's
her
it.
address, right? It's
It's
where
that.
where she's supposed to take the money.
We're implied that there's enough instruction there where you could figure it out. Ugh.
I
And
think Seth and Polly just I bet they just took that money and I was thinking that I was like immediately like they fucking didn't give that money to that lady. You
I
know they took that money.
for a split second I was like, oh, he just set them up with their stolen money for life, like a real at the end of a heist movie when they're like
Yeah.
good guy heists and they give it all back, but then they kept like a couple mil, they
Kept
kept
just
like $1
enough for
million.
themselves. Not enough that a rich person's gonna notice. But.
Yes, like the movie Tower Heist, the bad movie Tower Heist, or Fast Five.
Oh, okay, sure.
But I thought it was one of those situations for a second, and then I realized no, it's for the woman the man that.
But I think you're right, and I think Paulie and Seth will 100% just take that money.
Hey, med school, he has loans to pay off.
Yeah, exactly. He's got student loans. Shit.
Yeah, they didn't have money to clean the car, so
Yeah, they couldn't even afford a car wash.
yeah. So they get out. I mean, he then shoots the tank to blow up himself.
We shoots up propane tanks this
propane tank.
time and blows
Real draw
himself up with the final big explosion.
Yeah. And we do get our big explosion though. You
and
are waiting.
Real explosions in this movie. Got to give it up. There's some good looking real explosions. There was a guy on the special features they called the Wizard who did those. So shout out to the Wizard.
Hell yeah, Fred Savage.
He was just like he looked. He thought he looked like a fucking wizard. He had long white hair.
Oh,
and
you
a long
looked him
white
up.
beard. And when he was doing his bomb shit, when he was blowing stuff up, he put a beret in his long white beard to hold it back.
Nice. That's fun. One of my early notes of this was because I went through that string of watching like every bad Amazon, Hulu, like
Watch a lot of those
budget.
Into the Darks. And shit.
Not even Into the Darks, even worse, like the bad shark movies and this. And there's ones that are like this exact setup. Couple meets with another convict couple, and then you know, because it's just easy to film location.
Well, yeah,
This
you
is
know, a
the
bottle horror movie is like the cheapest thing you can make.
this is hands down a good movie, and it looks great. Like I don't think
Definitely above your basic what you're talking, way above that. Like
this is one of those.
this is one of those low budget gems. This isn't a movie that is like good in
It
spite of
looks
its shitty production. It looks good.
and you have
It
good
uses its
actors,
budget to the full. It's got great. It's got a good cast. It's just a really well made and
and
effective little horror movie.
because you have this is a movie like I feel like we say this all the time now. Like, oh, if it was released today, it'd be that like underrated movie you gotta see. You
Straight to
know,
streaming, better watch it because they'll probably just take it off the service if you don't. Like
it's like it's you either
R.I.P.
saying that
Willow,
today,
apparently.
we're either saying that today, and or oh, A20. It's an A24 style. Actually, though, I did want to, and I'll wrap it up in a minute
This
so we
was
don't run.
not thoughtful enough to be an
No,
A24.
no,
You
it's
could make
not.
some small changes. You could probably get it there, though.
But Magnet. This was a Magnet production, and I actually
Yeah,
I have a
they did
note.
like Midnight Meat Train and stuff,
The
right?
Midnight Meat Train and Bad Milo.
Okay.
And what I want to note about Magnet, because I'm sure they were just reps of Magnet, shamed me at the only time I ever went to Comic-Con. Because I went to Comic-Con in 2015. It was the only time. It was near Comic-Con. I went on a Thursday, and I was like, oh, I'm going to look for movies. And there's only one real table that had, like, it was Magnet. And I remember I bought Bad Milo, which I realized I overpaid for, the Butt Demon movie.
Hmm.
The Ken Marino Butt Demon movie.
Okay, sure.
Definitely,
I remember that.
but I was excited to buy something because it's Comic Con. But I remember the guy trying to sell me on this like obscure Simon Pegg movie, and it wasn't a horror movie or anything. It was like he was playing like 5 different character fantasy. And I remember being like, because I read something, I was like, yeah, like I didn't hear too good things. It was like a test of like, you know, you couldn't really like hold the move, like, you know, just having a
Can Simon
bullshit.
Pegg carry this?
Yeah.
Whatever.
And the
Yeah.
guy scoffed. He was like, what do you mean Simon Pegg can't carry? And I was like, I don't know. I didn't see it, but I'm not buying him. Like, you know, I'm not buying the movie. I'm already buying it. I'm not buying this movie. It was very like, fuck off, man.
Very like the guy at the movie, at the Blockbuster, who like judges you for renting a crappy movie.
Yeah.
Which
So
is what I
us.
did
So us.
when I worked at a Blockbuster.
So us. You do that to me every day on fucking Twitter.
It's true. I do.
Anyway, so I remember when I saw Magnet, I can never not think of having a weird conversation for someone. I'm like, do you work for the company? Or are you just selling
Yeah,
shit
he's
at?
just the guy who's like at the Magnet booth. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. So anyway, my final thoughts though on this movie, because I don't have much really to add. I mean, like I said, the effects were real cool, and I did like some of it was gooey.
oh yeah, great. You know me, love a cool, interesting creature. Love something like different that I've never seen before, which
Yeah,
this
the
definitely
spikes.
was. And like I said, just some real memorable stuff for like how it like takes over the body and how that plays out and stuff. I thought that was all kind of stuff I hadn't really seen before at the time.
And
I don't know.
I like that once he knew it, Dennis wasn't hiding it as we thought he would.
Yeah.
I mean, as like you would.
He hides it for a while, but once he knows that it's like
terminal.
like yeah, like once he like realize, once his finger breaks in about 7 different ways, he's like, okay, this isn't a thing. Like, I need some help here.
He's not being, was it, in the Dawn of the Dead remake? He's not like what, Mekhi Phifer.
Yeah, Mekhi Phifer is like doing him dirty. He knows what he knows he's wrong. That's why he's hiding her.
Yeah. So anyway, my final notes is I was just really happy that you brought such a underrated gem and were able to like pump this back out to hopefully an audience and more people watch it.
I mean, I saw a couple people respond to your tweets. Some people have seen this movie and they liked it. Everybody, this is one of those movies that I feel like almost everybody who sees it will like it. The problem is just getting people to see it. You know,
yes,
like, and it's just hard.
Covered.
There's so much stuff coming out new all the time. There's so much old stuff to watch. It's hard.
This is one that for horror fans, because this is a movie for horror fans. I mean, that's obviously to say, as horror fans is.
Well, I mean, like if you ever watched The Thing, like if you can't see The Thing influences in this and stuff, like come on.
But this reminds me a lot of another really underrated movie that really got me. I mean, actually did scare me. You could see me get scared in the episode. And this is one of those ones I wish like a Shudder would put on their app and things like that. There's a movie called Caveat that is on Shudder.
Yeah, Shudder. I did. Yeah, I think I watched
episode
that on Shudder.
Yeah, I did an episode of Video with Drew. It has really good scare in it, and then she scared me in the fucking episode by pulling up the picture.
I think I did watch that one.
Yeah.
Before my time.
I truly was like, oh. But this is a really fun movie. I highly recommend it. I know we don't do a review, full review, but Brian, anything else to add to this before?
No. I mean, like I said, like I love that's part of being a movie fan is trying like to, everybody knows you're like trying to show your friend the thing they haven't seen, and they're trying to show the thing. You're trying to like find each other's tastes, and that's what this is all about. And I just thought, I mean, I knew Joe would like it, but I want other people to see it too, and maybe
I would
Joe's
like other people to
recommendation
see
will
it.
help sell the normies on it, and people who wouldn't trust me might trust Joe.
Yes.
Like you said, give it a shot. Also, this is the great thing. You can be safe in being like, give this movie a shot because the fucker's at 82 minutes.
It's 82 minutes.
Like, that's shorter than like you couldn't watch 2 episodes of a cable drama in that amount of time.
And there's nothing offensive about it in the sense of like, no one's gonna be like, well, it was a good movie, but he did use those slurs a lot.
Yeah. Like I said, it's like shockingly. I was waiting for it because of movies of that time, and by that time I mean anything made before about 6 years ago.
Yeah,
like
2017 and below.
Yeah, about the 2017, 2018 era. When did Sausage Party come out? Like after, right around then.
Anyway, watch it, enjoy it. We'll see you guys next time. Stay frightful, all.
Got Twitters on here somewhere.
Probably. Yeah. Sorry, Brian.
Put my Twitter. You said put my Twitter. Put Joe's Twitter.
You could find all us at
Flyover State of Fear.
At Flyover State of Fear and Shenango 1, and you know what to do.
Hercules.
Stay frightful and bye. Welcome to Flyover State of Fear.